I'm surprised nobody has recommended that I cover this story. Granted, maybe I would hope a lot of you guys have been taking a little bit of a media blackout, if you will. You know, taking a break from social media, considering the state that things seem to be in right now. If you're part of any marginalized groups, maybe you've avoided this news, and I'm sorry to introduce it to you if I am the one telling you this story for the first time. But this is kind of breaking. People have been talking about this the last couple days, and, I figured I should throw my 2 cents into the ring because I do feel this is part of a trend that is getting dangerously more common. And, I'm worried. I'm worried for trans people in America, and not just in America, but globally. You know, the UK right now is a really good example of a place where trans rights are being, highly cracked down upon, not just America. You know, it's happening everywhere. And that kind of culminates in situations like this. You know, a couple years ago, we talked about the story of Brianna J. She was murdered for being trans by two classmates, by two peers her age. And despite being a teenager who was murdered, the internet, the transphobic internet, their response was to laugh and make fun of her, as they still do to this day. And this type of rhetoric, this type of ideology, at its worst, continues to result in more situations like this. It always turns into real-world violence, and it happened again. Community grieves, and healing event planned after stabbing of Juniper Blessing, a 19-year-old trans UW student. All week, I've been trying to find the words for what happened to a transgender University of Washington student in off-campus student housing Sunday night, and hoping it was not what it looked like. We don't know all the details, but from court documents and reporting from various newspapers and TV stations, we know that a 31-year-old Bellevue man allegedly stabbed 19-year-old Juniper Blessing in a laundry room more than 40 times until she died. I want to point out, by the way, that one of the most common causes of death for women 18 to, I think it's 40 or something like that, is being assaulted to death by a man. And that is exactly what happened to her. What kind of stuck with me about this story, the sickening irony of it, is that these transphobes claim that trans women aren't women, that they don't know the experience of being a woman, but statistically speaking, going off of, crime stats, the way that she was killed is a very common way that women die, is a man stabbing her to death 40 times. And she was very young. She was a college student. This guy was a 31-year-old fucking creep who showed up at the laundry room of her, I'm assuming her student housing dorm, and assaulted her. Gender affirming death, that's a really fucked up joke, but we like our dark humor here, and she might have laughed at that one. I'd hope she would laugh at that one. The suspect's motive is unknown at this time. I have some suspicions. I do. King County District Judge Matthew York found probable cause to hold the suspect for investigation and set bail at $10 million. You know what's so fucked up about this? Do you guys know what UW is, where King County is? Because I do. I've been there. King County is part of Seattle. UW is University of Washington. That's the place that I showed you guys photos I took there of the quad with all the cherry trees when they're in bloom during the spring. Actually, right about now, they're probably in bloom. Seattle right now is seeing such an influx of trans migration from red states, people fleeing from violence and discrimination in these red states. And here we have a story of a trans girl being murdered in a Seattle university. The crazy thing about this, you know what's fucking crazy about this? If the left had the same fire that the right does when it comes to the internet, we would make this girl just as recognizable and unforgettable as the right has made Irina Zarutska, who, make no mistake, was murdered and was an innocent who died as she was fleeing from a war from Russians that were invading her country. You know, she deserves in some ways to be remembered, but not as a martyr for the racist community, but she deserves to be remembered for the person that she was. And it's a tragedy of what happened to her. This same situation, if the left had that smoke on it, if it had that fire that it used to, Juniper would be just as recognizable as her. Because this girl, she could have been one of the trans people that fled from Texas, for example, and came to Seattle, only to face violence and death, even there, even when fleeing these red states. Allegedly, the suspect stalked the building before the stabbing. A security camera inside the laundry room was found unplugged. It's clear if the attack was captured on camera, but footage recovered from the memory card shows the suspect entering the laundry room while Blessing was cleaning lint from a dryer. He looked directly into the camera, according to court documents. It's horrific. It makes me want to vomit. As for the words, the trans writer Emily St. James already said them. What's gutting about this is that Juniper seemed to have had a family who supported and loved her. She was in a community that has been explicitly welcoming to trans people, and a man still murdered her. She was living the life so many trans people can only dream of, and it didn't matter. That sums it up right there pretty well, I'd say. Emily St. James, well said. Before Juniper's life and death are subsumed by politics, I'd like to acknowledge that a real person is dead. She is not a symbol. She loved music, singing, and video games, and her family thought she was simply the most amazing human being they have ever known. Highly intelligent, extremely talented, and deeply sensitive to the needs of others. I do love this, by the way, like, trans person is murdered, and it's like, okay, guys, but let's not make her a political symbol, all right? Let's not go claiming, let's not go using this for some kind of political message. Political symbol for what? Political message for what? Maybe we should stop violently murdering trans kids and trans people? Is that the political message you don't want this death to be weaponized in favor of? Get that shit out of my fucking face. Yeah, we're gonna weaponize this, okay? The right has done this with countless innocent people who have died. They have weaponized their deaths for their political gains. The difference here is our political position is, let's maybe not do this again. Let's maybe not do this. Let's stop this from happening, perhaps. That would be cool. As for the facts, Blessing was found stabbed at Nordheim Court near U Village around 10:10 p.m. Sunday. After campus police blocked off the scene, SPD took control of the investigation. Homicide detectives and crime scene investigators soon arrived, police say. At 10:40 p.m., the university sent the first in a series of campus safety alerts, informing students and staff of the homicide investigation. Residents of Nordheim Court were being asked to remain inside even after police had completed their search, and at 12:46 a.m., an alert provided links and telephone numbers for counseling and support services. Police shared a vague description of a black bearded man about 5'6" to 5'8" inches in height, seen wearing a vest, button-up shirt, and blue jeans. Oh shit. Hold on. The guy who did this was black. Do you think maybe this might get the right to care about the death of a trans kid? Because the trans kid was, a white girl. Do you maybe think that, like, that will override the transphobia and they'll care? Like, do you think their racism will override the transphobia and they might care about this teenager who's been murdered? Yeah, you're probably right now. Probably not. You're probably right. Even racism isn't enough to motivate them to give a shit. That's how bad of people they are. You can't even use an opportunity to be evil as a way to motivate them to do something good. They're that bad. On Wednesday, the Seattle Police Department released photos of the suspect. At 10:30 p.m. that evening, he turned himself into Bellevue Police, accompanied by his parents. He was taken to Seattle Police Headquarters, then booked in King County Jail. Oh, that's actually kind of sick. The Bellevue Police Department is where I went to get my my concealed weapons license stuff. Because you got to go to the police department to get all your shit, like the fingerprint stuff done and get all your paperwork signed up so you're allowed to conceal carry. That's where I went. So the same place where they brought this guy to be locked up is the place where I went to go get my fingerprints done and everything for my concealed weapons license. I don't know whether or not I should consider that a oh wow, or a kind of thing, you know what I mean? Anyway, before the suspect had turned himself in, Nordheim Court residents spoke to the Daily, UW student paper, about shoddy maintenance potentially causing a security risk at the building. One resident told the paper the Bluetooth-controlled lock to a laundry room door that opened to the garage had been broken since April. multiple residents said someone could easily enter the garage by following a car inside. According to court documents, the suspect had snuck into the laundry room. Fox 13 spoke to three residents who said a man matching the suspect's description tried breaking into her apartment on April 25th. The students said police found a knife. Before Fox 13 reported this, the story had been posted on Reddit. It is unclear whether there is any connection. It's a big city, no? Lots of people. Well, yeah, but it's the town hall and police department is in Bellevue is where they brought him, and that's also where I went to get my concealed weapons license. The Daily also spoke to one of Blessing's roommates about an astounding lack of communication from the police. University and apartment complex after her killing. After UW sent the alert about Blessing's homicide, roommates began spam calling her to confirm that she was safe. At around 1 a.m., one of the roommates flagged down an officer outside the building to help find Blessing. According to the Daily, the officer looked around their apartment and took photos of Blessing's room, asking questions about her political affiliation, her gender, and whether someone wanted to cause her harm. Quote, "He said to us, 'I can't confirm that your roommate was the victim, but I'm not going to deny it. And you should expect to hear from us if you don't hear from the press first,' the roommate told the Daily. The student said, when Husky Assist, the university's rapid mental health response unit, contacted Blessing's roommates, the counselor did not address her killing. The mental health professionals seemed to assume the roommate already knew, the Daily wrote. This Saturday, Trans Collective at UW and Gender Justice League are hosting a community grief and healing event. To ensure their privacy, the family has asked the media not to attend. The event is for the people most affected by Blessing's killing. The stranger will not be attending. The stranger will not... this is the writers of the article, or publishers. The stranger will not be attending, and I suggest other media organizations do not either. So it's going to be a private kind of community, local to the trans community and friends and family of Juniper that are going to be going there. And for those that want to know what she looks like, I actually do have this article's image. One is her cuddling this adorable dog, absolutely adorable dog, and then one is a selfie of her walking down I probably know this street. I recognize that style of building. That's Seattle. That's definitely Seattle. But yeah, it's a really big tragedy. It's a really big tragedy, and unfortunately, we're more likely to see conservatives gloat about this than we are to see them even think for a second about the kind of tragedy that's happened here and why they should perhaps show a little bit of empathy, because they're not capable of empathy. They consider empathy evil and suicidal. I've talked about this many, many times, going back years before they even came up with the term suicidal empathy, that conservatism, at its core, demonizes empathy as a concept, and they encourage their members, for lack of a better term, to purge empathy from their brains and their hearts. They must never be able to feel for another person. Anyway. What a bummer. What a downer.